That note sat on the refrigerator door for 4 years. Just 3 lines, scribbled in blue ink. I ran away. I will be back. I swear. I'm sorry. No signs of a struggle. No screams in the night. Just an ordinary morning in Glendale, Arizona, when a mother walked into her daughter's room and found the bed empty. Her phone was still on the pillow. Her favorite shoes were still by the door. And her daughter, Alicia, had vanished, as if she'd disappeared into thin air. She was just 14 at the time. On the autism spectrum, mildly affected, shy around strangers, rarely left the house on her own. The family called the police that very day. They printed flyers, organized searches, prayed that every phone call might be the miracle they'd been waiting for. But days turned into weeks, weeks into years, and all they got was silence. Then, 4 years later, on a quiet summer morning in South Montana, a young woman walked into a small-town police station near the Canadian border. She looked the officer in the eye, her voice soft, but steady. I need to clear my name. I've been missing. She was alive. But where had she been? What had she endured? And why? Did no one really know what happened? Glendale, Arizona. A small city in the northwest corner of Phoenix had been home to the Navarro family for nearly a decade. Every morning, the sun poured down over rows of low, red-tiled rooftops. The street outside the local high school buzzed with kids biking, clutching backpacks, laughing in the warm light. But for Alicia, the world always felt a little quieter. At 14, Alicia Navarro was an introverted, soft-spoken teen who carried a notebook everywhere, not for journaling, but to jot down familiar conversations. Alicia had high-functioning autism. She could learn, speak, and understand like any other kid, but sudden changes, loud sounds, or complex social settings often overwhelmed her. She didn't have many friends, but her memory was razor sharp, especially when it came to small details. She loved reading manga, gaming on her computer, and could spend hours sketching or coding simple HTML with headphones on, completely in her zone. Her mother, Jessica Nunez, often said Alicia was a beautiful soul in a delicate shell. It was just the two of them. Alicia's father left when she was 3, and since then, Jessica had been mother, guardian, and best friend, all in one. She was a hardworking single mom, part of Glendale's tight-knit Latinx community. She juggled 2 part-time jobs, but still made sure to be home every night to cook dinner with Alicia. Their house was small but spotless, walls covered with family photos. The most special place was Alicia's study corner, a space plastered with colorful sticky notes, each one always like days. Soft reminder, breathe deep. You're doing great. When anxious, count down from 5. If confused, say, sorry, I don't understand. Their neighborhood, mostly Latinx and Black families, knew them well. The lady at the corner store understood Alicia didn't like small talk, so she simply nodded with a warm smile when the girl came to buy snacks. Their next-door neighbor always set aside a few cookies, knowing Alicia had a sweet tooth but never visited anyone's home. In a loud world that often forgets quiet people, Alicia was a fragile light, quietly living but surrounded by care and love. For Jessica, every moment with her daughter felt like a silent prayer. She learned to read Alicia's face like sheet music. 3 tugs on her backpack strap meant anxiety. Lowered eyes and a quiet corner meant sadness. Jessica's love wasn't loud. It lived in late nights rereading autism care manuals, in always making an extra dinner plate, even when Alicia said she wasn't hungry, in rehearsing dozens of conversations, so her daughter would know what to say if someone asked for directions, or if she ever got lost in a store. But Alicia was no longer a little girl. At 14, something had begun to shift. Jessica noticed Alicia spending more time glued to her computer screen. She wore headphones nearly every evening, sometimes giggling to herself, fingers flying across the keyboard, only to quickly delete whatever she had typed. Then came the passwords. Alicia started locking her devices, something Jessica had never needed to monitor, always respecting her daughter's privacy. But what concerned her most was the look in Alicia's eyes, far away, deep, like she was living in another world. one Jessica couldn't reach. One Friday night, Jessica heard Alicia quietly crying in her room. She knocked gently. Alicia replied, "I'm okay, Mom. Just watching a sad movie." Jessica didn't push. But later that night, she left a small note on Alicia's desk. "I'm always here whenever you need me," Alicia never said anything. But the next morning, Jessica noticed a short message written underneath. "Thanks, Mom." Then, a few weeks later, Jessica felt something was truly off. One night, she came home late and noticed Alicia's bedroom window slightly open, something that almost never happened. She checked the room. Nothing was missing, just a pile of books knocked over. Alicia explained, "I just wanted some fresh air." Jessica smiled weakly and reminded her to lock the window. But that night, she couldn't sleep. For the first time in years, her own home made her feel uneasy. In the days that followed, Alicia kept checking the clock when Jessica mentioned curfew. She also started hiding her sleeves at school, like she was covering up scratches. Jessica asked, and Alicia just said, "I'm fine, Mom." Really? That was the last real conversation they had, before Alicia disappeared. In the week leading up to her disappearance, Alicia visited the public library 3 times. Not unusual for a book-loving teen, except this time, she didn't check out a single book. A librarian, an older woman, later recalled she just sat at the public computer for hours, typing fast, headphones on so tight she couldn't hear a thing. She looked focused, not like she was doing homework, more like she was waiting for someone to write back. At home, Alicia seemed calm, but 2 days before she vanished, her laptop, the one Jessica had bought her in 6th grade, was completely wiped. No browser history, no saved files, no notes, just the default wallpaper and a single icon, recycle, bin. Jessica had no idea. She'd never gone through her daughter's digital life. But when police later investigated, they discovered the laptop had been reset to factory settings, a process not easy for a 14-year-old to do without guidance. On her final day, Alicia went to school like normal, came home, had dinner, her favorite chicken stew, then said, "I'm a little tired, going up early." Nothing seemed strange. Jessica remembered she even came back to give me a hug, and she never really hugged unless something really moved her. The next morning, Jessica walked into her room to wake her up for school. The bed was empty. The window was open, the pillow still warm, and on the fridge, in the middle of their tiny kitchen, was a note, 3 short lines hastily written. What no one knew, not even Jessica, was that Alicia had once created a secret Discord account. Her username, Stargazer199. The account was active in a chat group focused on role-playing games and fantasy writing. 3 days before she went missing, she posted a message, "Sometimes your real world isn't the one you're living in." No one replied to that post. But 3 days later, Alicia Navarro was gone. That morning, September 15th, 2019, there was nothing unusual about the Arizona sky. But inside a small house on West 45th Avenue, silence hung heavier than usual. Jessica woke up like she did every day. She brewed coffee, skimmed yesterday's half-read newspaper, then headed upstairs to wake her daughter for school. Alicia's bedroom door was slightly ajar. The curtains fluttered gently in the breeze. The window wide open. That was the first thing that made Jessica stop. The room wasn't messy. The blanket was neatly pulled up, the pillow still in place. But something felt off. Alicia's phone, fully charged, sat untouched on the desk. Her backpack was there, unopened. Her sneakers, the ones she wore every single day, were missing. There were no footsteps from the bathroom, no sound from the kitchen. 1 minute, 2 minutes. Jessica called out, "Alicia?" No answer. She walked to the kitchen, and that's when she saw it. A small piece of paper taped hastily to the fridge with clear tape, 3 messy lines in blue ink, handwriting so familiar, she recognized it instantly as her daughter's. "I ran away. I will be back. I swear. I'm sorry." Jessica's heart seized. Her mind spiraled. She didn't scream. She didn't shatter anything. She just stood there, frozen in front of the old refrigerator, staring at a note that felt like a knife, pressed deep into her chest. Within 30 minutes, she called the police. The missing persons report was filed at 9:21 a.m. Officers arrived and searched the house from top to bottom. No signs of forced entry. No broken locks. No disturbed furniture. No blood. No neighbors heard a thing in the night. Alicia had simply vanished. Tech teams examined her room. Her laptop was still on the desk, powered off. They turned it on, checked browser history, email, messages, hoping to find clues. But everything appeared normal. No suspicious emails, no strange chats. It was as if Alicia had either wiped away every trace or never left one to begin with. Security cameras in the neighborhood? None. The neighbor's camera system? Broken. Traffic cams nearby? Too far. None captured the street. No footage of a young girl walking away in the night. No taxis. No witnesses. A shy girl who rarely left the house and struggled with social situations, gone, without a trace. But if that was true, where did she go? With who? And why leave a note that sounded more like a promise than a goodbye? Less than 2 hours after Alicia was reported missing, her photo was already being shared across local social media. In the image, Alicia wore glasses, her long brown hair draped over her shoulders, her eyes unsure like they were asking, "Am I okay?" Jessica, desperate and in tears, pleaded to the public, "If anyone sees her, please tell me. She's not like other kids. She needs medication. She needs to come home." The Glendale police launched their standard missing persons protocol. They checked recent contacts, reviewed social media activity, questioned school staff, neighbors, and library personnel. Investigators traced Alicia's browsing history, scanned her gaming friends list, combed through Discord, usernames linked to her home IP. Nothing suspicious. No strange messages. No mention of running away. Not even a single odd click the night she vanished. It felt like the entire plan, if there was one, had been airtight. No slip-ups. No digital breadcrumbs. In the first week, nearly 2,000 flyers were printed and handed out across the neighborhood at supermarkets, bus stops, parks. Police shared Alicia's photo on local news. Some claimed they saw her at a highway gas station in a shopping mall near the Mexico border. But each lead crumbled under scrutiny. The calls kept coming, and each one pierced Jessica's heart. And each time the line went dead, another crack formed in her soul. A community group called Bring Alicia Home was formed by local Latinx residents. They held prayer walks, raised money for billboard ads, opened a Facebook page to share updates. Some even recreated Alicia's bedroom as a psychological exercise, hoping to discover something, anything, a clue, a motive. But time kept moving. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. And those efforts slowly shifted from searching to grieving. The media coverage faded. People still remembered Alicia, but their hopes turned into prayers. That note on the fridge, still there, but now sealed, in plastic, untouched. A painful symbol of a promise no one dared to speak aloud. Jessica never stopped. Every day she checked emails, voicemails, mailbox, her Facebook inbox, longing for even one sentence. "Mom, I'm alive." But the screen stayed blank. The inbox stayed quiet. Her dreams got stranger. She dreamed of chasing Alicia through a forest. Time she caught a glimpse of her, Alicia would vanish behind the trees. No new leads, no clear motive, no suspects. The case was filed as a runaway, no signs of foul play. But Jessica never believed it was that simple. Not for her daughter. A girl like Alicia couldn't just disappear on her own. 3 months after Alicia vanished, a call came into the Glendale tip line. A raspy-voiced man claimed he saw a girl matching Alicia's description in Flagstaff nearly 3 hours away. He said she was with an older man, looked nervous, wore an oversized jacket, and kept glancing over her shoulder. Police rushed to the scene, but all they found was a father and daughter from California stopping for a break. The girl looked similar, but it wasn't Alicia. No connection, just another lead that vanished like smoke. The FBI got involved. So did the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Alicia's name was added to the Amber Alert system. Her photo flashed across electronic highway boards, alongside speed limits and fire warnings. But whether it was in Arizona's sweltering heat or on the outskirts of sleepy New Mexico towns, one person had truly seen Alicia. Jessica started questioning herself. Had she missed the signs? Had Alicia tried to speak, and she just wasn't listening? She replayed those silent dinners, those long stares out the window, those moments when Alicia cried and simply said, "I'm okay, Mom." Every memory, now a burden, now a wound. The media began asking hard questions. Did Alicia leave on her own? Was this just a runaway case? Or was she the victim of something more sinister? But there was no evidence to answer any of it. Could a tech-savvy, autistic teenager be lured online? Maybe. By who? Someone from her gaming world? A stranger who knew how to find her weakness? Or something no one ever imagined? One brutal truth became clearer with time. In every missing person case, time is the enemy. The longer it goes on, the quieter the world becomes. The news stops. The search slows. But not for Jessica. Every year, on the exact day Alicia disappeared, she holds a small candlelight vigil. Just a few friends, a few neighbors, standing on the front lawn, holding Alicia's photo, reading aloud the last words she ever wrote. "I ran away. I will be back." I swear, it wasn't just a goodbye. It was a promise. And Jessica, no matter what, still believes her. Daughter will keep it. July 26th, 2023. A quiet morning in Havre, a remote Montana town near the Canadian border. A young woman walked into the local police station. Her face wasn't entirely unfamiliar, but no one could quite place it. Eyes downcast, hair loosely tied back, wearing simple clothes, like someone who had been walking for miles. She spoke softly, almost in a whisper. "I need to clear my name. I've been missing." At first, the officer on duty thought she was mistaken. But when he asked for her name, she replied, "Alicia Navarro, 4 years, over 400 days." After countless theories and desperate searches, the 14-year-old girl who had vanished without a trace had returned, now 18, in a town no one would have guessed. Montana authorities quickly confirmed her identity. Fingerprint match, medical records match. Even her voice, recorded during intake, still carried the quiet hesitance of someone who once lived with autism. When they called her mother, Jessica nearly collapsed. After 4 years of agony and silence, she heard her daughter's voice again, over the phone, through a silence so heavy it nearly broke her. But what puzzled everyone wasn't just her return. It was the way Alicia spoke about herself. She insisted, "I wasn't held. I wasn't hurt. I left on my own. And now I want to be removed from the missing persons list." It was a legal gray area. If someone leaves voluntarily, isn't harmed, and isn't forced, is it even a crime, or was this just a young woman choosing, in the most extreme way, to take control of her life? Police recorded her statement. The FBI was alerted. A special task force was sent to Montana, not only to ensure Alicia's safety, but to answer 3 pressing questions. Where had she been? Who had she been with? And most importantly, what happened during those 4 missing years? At first, the authorities said nothing. Publicly, they withheld Alicia's location, offered no information about the people around her. But one detail leaked early. For the past several months, Alicia had been living with an older man. He wasn't a relative. No one in her family knew his name. And that's when things took a darker turn. In a tiny apartment in Havre, the same one Alicia had been staying in, police found a man named Edmund Davis, age 36. No criminal record, not listed on any sex offender registry, no documented mental health history. Described as quiet, reclusive, and more active online than in real life. Neighbors only knew them as those 2 people living together. Some said Alicia referred to Edmund as a friend. Others said she once called him a cousin, but most had never heard her say his name at all. She always looked down, avoided eye contact, said a woman who lived across the street. And him, he wore sunglasses all the time. rain or shine. When police arrived at the apartment, Edmund didn't resist. But when asked about Alicia, something in his expression changed. During the search, he tried to hide a cell phone beneath a couch cushion found minutes later. The phone was encrypted, but what investigators did see was enough to send it straight to FBI cyber forensics. At the station, Edmund stuck to one story, that Alicia found him online, that she told him she felt suffocated at home, that she wanted to run away to find freedom. He claimed he simply gave her a place to stay, that he never held her against her will, that he never hurt her. His lawyer quickly requested to be present for all questioning. And surprisingly, Alicia backed up his story. I wasn't forced. He helped me when I had no one. But something didn't add up. According to the initial search report, the apartment windows were sealed shut from the inside with cardboard. Alicia had no ID, no bank account, no medical registration. Everything she needed, food, medicine, a phone, was provided by Edmund. When asked why she never contacted her family, Alicia simply said, "I was scared. I thought my mom wouldn't forgive me." Even more troubling, data showed Edmund had deleted several accounts before police arrived. Some usernames resembled variations of Stargazer, FBI. Agents suspected he'd used anonymous forums to target vulnerable teens. But so far, no solid evidence of abuse, no proof she'd been physically held. And here was the central dilemma. If Alicia said she left willingly, if she claimed she wasn't a victim, was Edmund a predator or just a character in a much more complicated story? 2 days after Alicia came forward, a local reporter who covered community news received a tip, an anonymous caller, a former neighbor of Edmund. They said just one sentence: "She's not the first girl who lived with him." That tip led investigators to reopen several cold case files in the Montana region, especially those involving runaway teens with no solid leads, no immediate matches. But one case from 2016 stood out. A 16-year-old girl from another state claimed she had been lured away by a man she met online. She later withdrew her complaint, saying it was all a misunderstanding. The man named in that file, same name, same birth date, Edmund Davis. Soon, neighbors around the Haver apartment began speaking out. A man who worked near the building said he'd seen Alicia about 5 months before she came forward, walking behind Edmund at a grocery store. She kept her head down, hands clenched. No one smiled. No one spoke. An older woman who lived below them recalled hearing a faint scream one night. Not loud, enough to call police, but loud enough that I stayed awake the rest of the night. The strangest part, even though Alicia insisted, she wasn't controlled. The phone she used was a loaner. From Edmund, she had no access to her old accounts. No emails, no texts, except with him. No clear evidence she was harmed, but no proof she'd truly been free. Then came one quiet line in her first official statement. "I used to think if I came back, they'd lock me up, or he'd get arrested. And I don't know if that's what should happen." Vague, unfinished, but full of inner conflict. Was Alicia protecting someone, or did she simply not understand the full weight of what had happened to her? From age 14 to 18, she lived in a closed-off world, dependent on one person. Maybe she really did leave on her own, because she saw no other choice. As of now, the investigation is still ongoing. But one thing is clear: no one, not even Alicia herself, has the full story. Everyone only holds a piece. And between the gaps in memory and the silence left behind, the truth remains locked in shadow. 3 weeks after Alicia reappeared, FBI Digital Forensics cracked into the hidden data on the phone Edmund Davis had tried to stash beneath his sofa. Inside its memory, they uncovered hundreds of files and chat logs, some encrypted, others screenshots from anonymous forums deep within the dark web. Several accounts were tied to online communities known for discussing or trading questionable content involving minors. And then came the discovery that chilled every investigator in the room. In a series of hidden folders, they found photographs of Alicia taken in her bedroom at night while she was asleep. They weren't explicit. There was no visible abuse. But the angles, shadowy, secretive, the dim lighting, and Alicia's unaware, sleeping face made it clear she didn't know she was being watched. At the same time, a deleted email was recovered from one of Edmund's old accounts. It dated back to 2019, just 2 months before Alicia vanished. He had written to a coding forum under the alias NovaSeeker47 asking, "Need help wiping all user data from an old laptop," without anyone finding out. That username struck a nerve. One of Alicia's old gaming aliases on a role-playing forum had also contained the word Nova. Investigators began to rethink the entire case. Maybe Alicia's disappearance wasn't just a runaway. Maybe Edmund had reached out to her long before she disappeared, slowly building trust, gaining influence, guiding her into a plan to escape. For a lonely girl on the spectrum, someone yearning for connection and understanding, one voice showing up night after night, willing to listen, could become her whole world. But the most haunting question still had no answer. If Alicia had been manipulated, why was she still protecting him? Why insist it was her choice? Why, with full freedom to speak, did she never accuse? Psychologists were brought in. One trauma specialist explained, in many grooming cases, the victim doesn't know they've been harmed. They believe they're in love. They think they chose. But in reality, their entire world has been shaped by the abuser. The case of Alicia Navarro was once again at the center of a national storm, not just among law enforcement, but in the public conscience. When a victim doesn't see herself as a victim, what can justice even do? When news of the hidden photos and Edmund's anonymous accounts leaked to the press, public opinion split sharply in two. One side was certain Alicia had been groomed, isolated, controlled for years by a manipulative adult. The other side asked hard questions. If she was truly imprisoned, why didn't she say so? Why defend him? Why stay quiet? Then, an old detail, once overlooked, was brought back into focus. In 2016, Edmund Davis had been reported in Washington state for inappropriate closeness with a high school student, allegedly a cousin of his then-girlfriend. The case was closed with no charges. There wasn't enough evidence. The girl declined to cooperate. No arrest. No placement on any registry. Just a closed file. 3 years later, Alicia vanished. But at the time, no one made the connection. Now, investigators were forced to confront a terrifying possibility. Had the system already had a chance to stop Edmund and failed, and the questions didn't stop there? At a press conference in late August 2023, a Black journalist raised a question that cut straight through the noise. If this girl had been white from a wealthy neighborhood, would we have done more? The room went silent. The question, simple, blunt, exposed a blind spot. Alicia Navarro was Latina. Her mother, a single mom working multiple gigs, lived in a lower-income neighborhood with limited security resources. From day one, the case had been labeled as a runaway, not possible abduction. And as several experts pointed out, that single classification changed everything. The response time, the scale of the search, the media coverage, the urgency. Once again, Alicia's story became a mirror, reflecting a system that too often decides who gets searched for, who gets forgotten, who has a voice, and who's left behind. In February 2025, Edmund Davis was formally charged, not with kidnapping, but with possession of child sexual abuse material found on his electronic devices. He was sentenced to 100 years in prison, 50 of them suspended, meaning he would serve at least 25 years, before even being eligible for parole. But no charges related directly to Alicia Navarro were ever filed, because in every statement she gave, she never once said he hurt her. After Edmund Davis was sentenced, headlines exploded. Suspect in Alicia Navarro disappearance gets 100-year sentence. But anyone reading closely noticed a strange contradiction. None of the charges were directly related to Alicia's disappearance. No kidnapping, no unlawful restraint, no sexual assault. Just one conviction, possession of child exploitation material. And in a rare interview, when Alicia was asked directly, "Do you see yourself as a victim?" she went quiet, didn't nod, didn't shake her head. She just stared into the camera for a long moment and said, "I don't know." That answer, not a yes, not a no, cracked open a deep and painful uncertainty in the minds of everyone who had followed her story. Some who had once condemned Edmund now began to question Alicia. Others who'd called her a manipulated victim started asking, if she didn't want to come back, who are we to say she should have? Jessica, her mother, became the person caught in the middle. Reporters asked how she felt. Communities split down the line. Some showed compassion. Others blamed her, saying she never understood her daughter from the start. But Jessica herself was lost. In a Facebook post written late one night, she wrote, "I don't know if I'm holding my daughter or a ghost from the past." Meanwhile, child psychology experts stepped in. They warned that people who live under long-term control often can't distinguish between real freedom and compliance shaped by fear. One doctor explained, victims are sometimes forced to say they left willingly because they believe telling the truth would destroy the only person who ever showed them kindness. But was that true for Alicia, or had she truly made her own choice? Recovered chat logs from one of her old accounts, dating back to when she was just 13, included a line that stood out. "I just want a place where no one looks at me like I'm broken." It read less like a complaint and more like a silent plea, a cry no one heard or no one knew how to answer. The story had become a labyrinth. Every new clue didn't lead to answers, only deeper, into the unknown. Alicia didn't accuse. Edmund didn't confess. And the justice system, for all its tools and tactics, still couldn't say what really happened during the war. 4 years, she was gone. By late 2024, with no clear conclusion in sight, the FBI returned to where it all began, the small Glendale home where Alicia once lived with her mother. They weren't searching for charges anymore. They were searching for understanding. How did a 14-year-old girl disappear without a trace in the middle of a residential neighborhood? And no, one saw a thing. During the re-examination, one detail stood out: a pair of silver gray sneakers, the exact style Alicia wore every day, still sat neatly on the shoe rack, untouched, undisturbed, not a speck of dust. Jessica said she never moved them. They were the last. "Part of Alicia still here," she said. But when investigators compared this with evidence from Montana, they found something troubling. In a photo taken the day Alicia walked into the Havre police station, she was wearing the same sneakers, same brand, same model, same color. Exactly. This raised a chilling question. If the shoes were untouched in Glendale for 4 years, how was Alicia wearing an identical pair in Montana? Only 2? Explanations made sense. Either it was a rare coincidence, same make, same style, bought elsewhere, or someone had gone back to the house, quietly, unseen, to take something, maybe as a token, a keepsake, a symbol of control. This theory was raised in a closed-door FBI briefing. But to date, no one has offered a solid answer. When Alicia was asked about the shoes, she simply said, "Maybe, they weren't the same pair. I don't remember." But the way she looked down at her feet said more than her words ever could. Now, nearly 5 years since the day Alicia disappeared, one truth remains. The only person who knows the full story is Alicia herself, and she's chosen silence. Or perhaps, more truthfully, she's chosen to keep that part of her story for herself. And amid all the unanswered questions, one quiet thought now echoes through the community that once rallied behind her. How many other Alicias are still out there, still missing, still unseen, or worse, back home, but no one recognizes them anymore? 1 year after her return, Alicia Navarro lives somewhere else, her identity protected, her face absent from the public eye. She's declined all interviews. Her social media accounts are gone. The only update delivered through her attorney said, simply, Alicia is working to rebuild her life on her own terms with full psychological and legal support. Meanwhile, her mother, Jessica, still lives in the same small house. Every morning, she brews coffee and sets it in front of a photo of Alicia as a child. She still keeps the old laptop, the silver sneakers, and the note with 3 handwritten lines, now faded from time. She no longer hopes for clear answers. Instead, she's learned to live with the empty spaces. In her only public appearance since Alicia came home, Jessica said quietly, "Maybe I'll never know everything." That happened. But what I do know for sure is that she's still in there somewhere. Still Alicia. Still my daughter. That simple sentence, quiet and unpolished, felt like a soft blanket over a wound that never fully healed. The case of Alicia Navarro was officially closed in early 2025. No further charges, no confessions, no one named as the main perpetrator. But in the minds of many, the story never truly ended. It just went quiet, as if part of the truth is still out there, unspoken, unshared. Sometimes, justice doesn't come in the form of handcuffs or court rulings. Sometimes, it comes through our willingness to listen and to remember. No one was convicted, no one apologized, but no one has forgotten.